Oh. I am here.
I got every groan of you sitting down.
Yeah,
You sound
there's
like
a lot.
me sitting down, man. It's sadness right there.
Yeah, that's sadness.
That's how I get up. Like every time I get up, it's like, like
Oh
every
man,
time. It's like the sound of me taking a shit is the same as me getting out of a chair.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you have decided for whatever reason to tune into another horrible gaming podcast. But I am not, nor am I ever alone. With me is
Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
Hey TW, how you doing, buddy?
I am a little sleepy, but outside of that,
It's all
I'm
right.
good.
I got pep. I'm in a good mood. I have enough good mood for the both of us, at least for now. There's one subject that's going to make me mad, but for now I'm going to keep it positive. So credits, as usual. First of all, if you were watching this on YouTube, you were watching some fancy graphics behind those timestamps, and those were provided by Mr. Mark Bell. He has provided us with all the original graphics that we use here on the show. I don't know if you guys saw the new banner with just a tiny wizard in it. Did you see it, Neil?
I did.
I know, front and center. It's our show now.
It is.
It's ours to fail. And then, of course, the theme song was provided by my brother. Nick Van Slyter is the man who makes the music, and we thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right. So that brings us to the top of the show, the first segment, and possibly our favorite segment. That's Fanteraction. That's where we, the hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We read your comments in all the places that we can find. We use your comments to decide the horrible arena winners, and we just generally converse with you guys. So, as much as Kevin likes to rail for Fanteraction being Kevteraction, I got to say he had some competition this week for a Filteraction, because Philbilly was on point with the comments. Kev was right there with him. I think they had the same amount of comments. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, Philbilly outdid him. Kevin, that's not a challenge. It's not a challenge, Kevin. Other people can comment too.
You already said it. You already said it. It's too late.
No.
It's
Buckle in for next
happen.
week. Philbilly starts us off by saying, Neil, if you can't deal with a game with the challenges of putting your weapon away to heal, sharpen, or a hefty menu navigation, you may want to steer clear of Bloodborne. Laugh out loud. To which you responded, if you don't mind me reading your response.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, if that's what Bloodborne is, I'm gonna have to probably be out. Laugh out loud. I'm cool with menu navigation and pause screens as long as everything stops or is at least super slowed down. But even in Kingdom Hearts, I hate the menu navigation. Laugh out loud. That's why I only use what I can fit on a shortcut menu. Other than that, I don't use half the stuff available to me. Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
Add to that too. Because I was under the impression Bloodborne was more so like Jedi, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, to where it's you just like hit up. You have a limited number of healing that you can do basically, but you don't have to stop the whole action to go do its own thing.
Honestly, I know, like, I haven't played Dark Souls a lot. I played a little bit of it. Just enough to know it's not for me. And I know Jedi Fallen Order and Bloodborne. I know Bloodborne's a much softer version of Dark Souls on the, combat stamina, stuff like that. But I do believe there is some, sharpening and healing and stuff like that. So, I don't know, though.
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like Bloodborne is between Jedi Fallen Order and Dark Souls. I just don't know which way it leans,
Yeah, that I don't know.
Moving on. Phil Billy continues. I really hope Biomutant actually comes out this year. I actually do too. My anger with Biomutant is not that I don't want it to come out. I think it's a cool, interesting new IP. I don't like when companies offer pre-order stuff without giving us dates. Phil Billy then continued. Did you have something to add to that? I didn't want to just walk over.
No, I was grumbling in agreement.
Okay, it's rare. It's better than grumbling in disagreement, which happens on both sides of the microphone. Phil Billy then also said, not that I know, but I have a feeling the tracking of monsters and some other mechanics in Rise will be in the game. I think that it just dialed way down for the demo. Having played the demo, having played the demo now, I kind of feel it was a poorly done demo. Still looking forward to the full game, though. Phil Billy, we talked about this since you posted this. I'm still looking forward to the game. I am willing to put money down that there will be no scout flies or tracking of the monster in the game or any of the research point stuff that was in World. Just saying. Other Monster Hunters didn't have that stuff, so I feel like they can get away without doing it because World was the first one to have like the breadcrumb interaction stuff, which is a bummer because I thought that's what pulled me into Monster. One of the big things that pulled me into Monster Hunter. So I don't know. It's still going to be fun. I'm still going to play it. That's all I got to say about that. Continuing. Just want to make sure I'm not reading it wrong because I want to read the arena ones last. And I just want to make sure that I haven't gotten to that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Glad this is all happening on air.
Gotta admit, Neil, I don't think... Well, it's hard because you're just reading them in order, like no matter how I do it, you know.
Yeah.
Gotta admit, Neil, I don't think the tutorial in World was all that great, to be honest. If I hadn't played with Zach to explain things to me, not sure I would have stuck with it, which is funny because now it's one of my top 3 games, franchises for me of all time. And that's basically just going to the fact that, like... Yeah, I mean, and this is no insult to Phil. I don't think he would like Monster Hunter if I hadn't forced him to play it for a show. Like, I just don't think he would because it's just such a lead-in for it to get to that point where you're like, oh, this is amazing. You know what I mean?
You know, a little anecdote to that sort of thinking. I actually that's how I got into Skyrim. I played Oblivion and didn't like it. And Skyrim came out, and it just so happened, like I was curious about it, and it just so happened that the Best Buy in Steelyard Commons was going out of business.
Oh.
So I trekked over there and found a copy of it and bought it. It was like when the game had come out, and I only spent $35 on it. So I saved a fair amount of money. And I was all excited, and I got it back home, and the first 5 hours of that game I hated. The only reason I kept playing Skyrim was because I spent a grand total of an hour and a half because of traffic driving out to Steelyard Commons and $35 of money that I kept playing it. But I mean, I'm glad I stuck with it. So, I mean, there is something to be said for, forcing yourself through a section of a game to where
I mean,
it becomes...
It's tricky because I'm all about if something's not fun, don't do it. This is supposed to be your fun thing, you know what I mean? Especially when you're an adult. Like when you're an adult, you have family, you have responsibilities, you have a job. You got so much time to put into video games. Like don't waste it on something you don't like. But at the same time, like there are certain games that if you push through that opening, they really become worth it. And Monster Hunter World is one that really becomes worth it. Phil Billy then said, gotta agree with Neil on John Wick 3. That's fine. Everybody can hate it. I will love it.
I don't hate it.
I know. Neither
bad.
did he. Neither did he. It was the same kind of thing. It was just a little bit too over the top for him. Then we get into Kev Too Tall. He takes over. Monster Hunter's menu play is more set up than mid-battle. Yes, switching items is still semi-menu, but it's very hotkeyed. Putting weapons away and sharpness is just about spatial management. What he's basically saying, and honestly, Kev, kind of against your point in a way. I played the entire game through once without ever figuring out the hotkeys. Ever. However, I will say that when you figure out the hotkeys, it's way better than like menu management, because you basically just set it to like a certain thing, and then you press a button and an analog stick direction, and the thing gets used. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Kev Tutal then continued, before MHW, you just searched and paid attention to where you found them. No in-game breadcrumb trails, which I said earlier on the Philbilly comment, to which I actually responded to him in text. Scout flies or not, as the reason I felt connected to the world. Scout flies are not the reason I felt connected to the world in NMHW. It was its own living, breathing thing, especially when the guiding lands appeared. That tracks and signs only help to enhance the feeling of immersion. I have played a lot of the Rise demo now, and not once have I felt that way about it. It feels much more like just a battlefield you fight the monster in, especially with the weird endemic life purposes, which, you know, I made that point last week. Like, Monster Hunter World is amazing because the maps that you go into are like living, breathing things you move through. It feels like you're moving through that thing, you know? Everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason. You get it. It also, like, you can interact with it in so many different ways. Whereas Rise really just felt like, there's a waterfall here, and sometimes the monster's in front of that. And then there's this old city here, and sometimes the monster's in front of that. Like, it didn't feel like that world that really pulled me in.
Now, not to derail and have you go off on a tangent, but do you think that is a symptom of the game being on Switch?
Yeah.
And it's like limited hardware?
Here's the thing. I think there is some definite limitations that you can see there. I don't feel like adding tracks and behavior patterns would have hurt the game that much. Like, I like hurt the data that much, I guess. Like, I kind of get the scout flies because they're kind of like a light show, so I kind of could understand why it wouldn't have the processing power to have that on the screen at all times. But, I mean, having the monsters, like right now the monsters, they walk in a certain path, and that's it. Like, they don't really interact with each other. They don't really interact with the world around them. Like, Monster Hunter World, you could track a monster, and it would itch its foot on, like, a tree, and it would, like, hunt little creatures and eat them, and then it would, like, fight with other big monsters. Like, you could track it and just follow it, and it was interesting. You know what I mean? With this, it's just, it moves from Area 2 to Area 3, then it stays there for a little bit, then it moves to Area 4. Then it stays there for a little bit, then it moves to Area 2 again. And, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like somehow it's got a lot of the same aspects without the stuff that really makes you feel like you're there, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can help me with this comment. Kev then says, N64, PlayStation, GameCube, PS2, Xbox, Wii, PS3, Xbox 360, Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PS5, Series X, and then a bunch of question marks. Like, were we talking about generations again? Yeah, I don't understand this. Kev, just elaborate on this one for me. I didn't quite understand what you were saying there, man. I'm sure we said something to spark this, but I didn't get it. Maybe he's just speaking as like he's wondering what the next ones will be called, or
I don't know. I mean,
or maybe he's thinking about another Nintendo thing. I don't know.
I normally do listen back through the episode every week that it comes out, but I just didn't get around to it this week. So
it was a pretty good episode. I liked it.
Yeah. Zach, all episodes are good episodes.
No, they aren't, Neil. No, they aren't.
Yes, they are. Don't lie to them.
They're content.
Don't listen to him.
I am not lying to you guys. We are not good at this. This is a shit show.
Listen to him.
On the best day. Okay.
This is wonderful.
So continuing, Kev Tutal commented on one of your pitches and said Halo Siege should be Ubisoft Rainbow Six style with a little cool face. And then let's get to the horrible arena because it was a real close one, Neil. Real close one.
Oh, yeah?
But we are officially tied. Kev Too Tall, I hate you both right now. I have now been sold 2 games I will never get to play. I have no recourse but to not vote. To decide is literally actually selecting a favorite child. So the only person who voted was Philbilly, and he said, heard Neil's pitch and was like, man, this is going to be tough to beat. Then I heard Star Wars and Monster Hunter in the same sentence, and my nerd mind exploded. Sorry, Neil. My vote goes to Zach. So we are dead even, sir. Even Steven, baby. Even Steven.
Oh, you mean in the overall? I was like, wait, you've got a vote there. Like, I don't know how that makes us.
No.
tied.
Yeah, in the overall.
Yeah.
In the overall, we are even on score. We are both at 11 points apiece. 11 points apiece as we look for the hunt to, I think it was 27, 26?
It's something like that.
I think it's 26. Yeah, it's 26. It has to be 26 because
just shows
52.
You how much we keep track of this stuff. And remember,
it's 27. It's 27.
Remember, this is a good show.
Yeah. Let's keep telling ourselves that. All right, well, that's fan interaction, man, unless you got anything to add to it.
No, I don't think I do.
All right. Well, let's move on to our first talking point. Yay!
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first talking point. And we actually had some really interesting news this week on all fronts. And this is the fun talking point, in my opinion. Lucasfilm Games. They have announced their existence. What exactly they're going to end up being, we are going to speculate about it in this talking point. But they have also announced a number of projects, one being the Indiana Jones game. They also announced that Star Wars will get a massive open world game made by Ubisoft, which means that the exclusivity after 2023 will be done. So, let's talk about it, man. Lucas, let's do a lot of speculation. Let's say some crazy stuff. What do you think about this?
So right out of the gate, knee-jerk reaction, the very first thing that I thought of whenever I heard the news that EA lost exclusivity was, oh my God, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, that is exactly where my mind went. And I don't think that was necessarily the sole reason why they lost exclusivity, but I get the feeling that is possibly what set the gears in motion.
So I'm gonna argue with you slightly.
Okay.
I don't think that this was done out of malice for EA at all.
No. I don't think that it was out of malice. I
think they've just realized they can make a lot more money with doing this. I think they were in a transitional period with it moving to Disney, so they sold the exclusive rights to EA so they didn't have to worry about it for a while. And now they're like, hey, we can do this. We can make our money anywhere we want to, you know?
Right. And that's like I said, I guess how I phrased it wasn't exactly.
No. I get it. Yeah.
But I mean, something like that. I mean, I hear that news, and that's where I think what happened. Like I said, I don't think it was. I think they might have been looking for a reason to get out at that point. But at the same time, Jedi Fallen Order came out, and that was great.
It was a big success.
Yeah, so
Star Wars Squadron has done very good for itself. And I also want to point out that while Disney was definitely mad at them with the whole loot box thing, they really turned around Battlefront 2. It actually makes them a lot of money, and it is a definitive multiplayer competitive game right now. I can go ahead and say that. The amount of stuff you can do in that game, multiplayer-wise, is crazy. So, like, while the word rocky start for them is an understatement, I think they actually kind of turned that one around in a lot of ways.
I mean, yeah, I've heard that since they've made the changes to the loot system and microtransactions and everything, that it has been a lot better. Yeah. For me, like I got the first one the first Battlefield, well, not the very first, but the one that they had whenever the Xbox and PS4 generation came out. And that was okay, but I didn't like the fact that it was solely multiplayer. And I was toying around with jumping onto Battlefront 2 whenever it was first being talked about, because it had a bit more of like a single player story. But then, that nightmare happened with that, and it just kind of soured it for me from that point.
I really don't think it's a game for you. Like the single player I haven't played through, but it's only 5 hours. And it's kind of I've more heard. Like a glorified tutorial for the rest of the game. Like, if you don't like multiplayer, I definitely... Like, I mean, it's free right now on the Epic Store. I'd go download it. It's definitely worth that. But, like, if you can't get it super cheap or free, then I wouldn't think it was worth it if you're a single-player guy,
Yeah, there's only a handful of games that I'll play multiplayer online. So, But going back to the overall story... I really want to know what this Indiana Jones game is. Like, are we talking Last Crusade, or are we talking Crystal Kingdom? Like, because there's there's a balance there. Like, I don't know what it is that they can do to gamify Indiana Jones that hasn't been done by Naughty Dog with Uncharted already, and make it better.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna go right with you on that one. However, there is something to be said about just making this an Uncharted game with Indiana Jones. I mean, I know that sounds like a dirty thing to say, but like, I had seen some people on the internet say, Xbox needs... First of all, it's not going to be exclusive. I'm going to say that again to everybody out there. They're never going to go exclusive with Bethesda. I will put money down on it. Nonetheless, somebody had said that, they need a competition for Uncharted. I'm like, Uncharted hasn't been around for years, man. Like, who's competing with Uncharted at this point? However, that does leave a hole, especially now that that Tomb Raider isn't really around and the last one didn't do so hot. So, like, there is a hole right now in the market for a third-person adventure treasure hunting gear game. So why not just make it with the most known face in adventure treasure hunting in the world, And
the thing that really sucks about that too is if we would have 15 years ago gotten an Indiana Jones game and it would have been on par with Uncharted, then like I think that Uncharted would have never been a thing. But now, because Uncharted is a thing, it's gonna draw those comparisons, and I don't think it's gonna let the game stand on its own footing at all.
Well, and that's a fair concern. I still think that any one of those people who is like diehard Uncharted or Tomb Raider.
Unshattered.
Yeah, I know, Unshattered, right? And you keep saying this show is good. See, guys, it's not. It's not good.
It's what happens after you have Taco Bell late night.
Right.
You're unshattered.
You're unshattered. It's coming. It's coming. I mean, you're gonna collect all those people. Like, and sure, they're gonna get on it and they're gonna compare it and they're gonna be like, oh, Uncharted was better, Tomb Raider was better, but they're still gonna buy and play it because they don't have a game like that to buy and play right now.
Right, and that's something for me too. Like I'd mentioned before that I just marathoned all of the Uncharted games since like the whole series pretty much is out. I went through 1 through 4, and then I got into Lost Legacy, and I dropped off of that after about 4 or 5 hours or so, because it's like it's like the character, like I was attached to Nathan Drake and that whole story and where they were going, even though it was with characters that have already existed within the series. It's like, this isn't exactly what I want. But then, you take Indiana fucking Jones, and it's like, okay, you give me that same sense of adventure with Harrison Ford. And by the way, they really need to get him to do the voice. They can't have somebody else doing the voice.
That's the problem, though. He doesn't even sound like Indiana Jones anymore. Like, the dude sounds like Dude sounds like a dying hound dog. Like I like his voice. Like you compare his voice to what his voice was when he did Raiders of the Lost Ark. You could barely tell it's him.
I mean,
I'm not disagreeing. I think they should get Harrison Ford because Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. But at the same time, like I almost feel like you can't really get him if you want a franchise. Like
you know what else I hope they avoid too is. We know that they're working on another Indiana Jones movie. It's somewhere in the realm of production.
Yep.
Please, for the love of all that is good and holy, do not line the launch of the game up with the movie because everyone is going to assume it's a tie-in and just avoid it at all costs. Indiana Jones is one of those IP that you like. It's sacred to some.
Yeah.
I would arguably say possibly myself.
Right.
You have to do it justice, and you have to avoid all of the pitfalls, if you pardon the pun.
I was about to say, tricky there, man.
You have to avoid all of those pitfalls, all the rolling boulders, stay out of mine carts, all those those comparisons that can be drawn. But stay away from all of those sorts of things because like this is something that could be very special if it's done right and treated nice.
I think it is a tough position. It is an IP that has a certain level of respect. However, I will say that I feel like as an IP that is kind of one of those like holy grail IPs, iPundy too. I think that it's a little bit more removed from this generation's mindset. You could probably get away with a little bit.
That's true.
Okay, so let's move on to some of the other parts of this. I mean, really, the biggest part of this is Star Wars. The Indiana Jones thing is fine, but Star Wars. I do just want to point out, I think some people are really forgetting this. The exclusivity deal with EA is still in place. Right. Nothing you have heard of is coming out before 2023. Like, nothing. Because it doesn't expire until 2023. They literally cannot release games. Like, no other company can release games until after that time. So anything you've heard about is in the preest of pre-productions. I just want to throw that out to everybody who's getting, like, overtly excited about the open world Ubisoft game and all this. I'm like, look, that's great. But EA and Disney have already, or EA and Lucasfilm Games have already stated they're still on good footing. They've already stated that EA is going to be able to make games within their current franchises already. So they're still going to make Jedi Fallen Order 2. They're still going to make possibly a Star Wars Squadrons 2. You're going to see a Battlefront 3, and it's all going to come from EA. But there has been no mention of the actual exclusivity deal going down the tubes. So unless Lucasfilm Games negotiated some sort of like break of that early, then you're not seeing any of this until 2023 or beyond.
And that also makes me wonder too, because like we can assume that there are sequels to those Star Wars games like in development somewhere along the way, but I mean they haven't been announced or anything yet, and I feel like this might have been the time to make those announcements if they had them. We all know how the game industry loves to make early announcements anyways.
Yeah. Well,
this time I feel like it would have been justified given, the ticking clock. But it makes me wonder, like...
Well, and Ubisoft all but announced the open world game. They said that's what we're working on. Like, that's official. We know that they're working on that game. We don't know what it's called. We don't know what it's going to involve other than an open world, but we know that that thing is in production. But, like, other than that, we haven't heard anything. It's just that and the Indiana Jones games. That's the only announcements that came out of Lucasfilm Games. So... It
makes me wonder, though, if EA actually has something officially in the pipeline for the next 2 years, or if they're just going to take this next 2 years to support what it is that they have and then transition to, other things.
Right. I mean, I don't think that EA is going anywhere, though. Like, they've made too much money on these products. I think we will see Jedi Fallen Order 2. I think we will see Battlefront. I think if nothing else, I would put money down that we're going to see Battlefront 3 from EA. Like, there's no way that goes away. Whether or not they make Star Wars Squadrons 2, I don't know. Whether they make any other Star Wars games, I don't know. But I think those current franchises that did successful for them is going to stick around. They're going to keep coming out, and they're going to keep coming from EA for the foreseeable future.
Right.
I think Battlefront 3 is probably like, we're probably going to be seeing like late in development announcements for that. I would say within the next year or two.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. What is there any other Lucasfilm game that you would want to see? I mean, there's one that I know that I would love to see.
I want to hear what you want. Well, what?
I would love to see Jurassic Park, but like, Turok.
Oh. Turok wasn't Lucasfilm though.
No, but I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
Jurassic Park, but do it up like Turok.
Okay, but Jurassic Park isn't Lucas, is it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I for the life of me can't remember off the top. I'm sure a quick Google search.
What are you doing right now? You're just basically saying you want a Jurassic Park Turok game.
No, I'm saying make a Jurassic Park game because the rights. But make it play like Turok.
Right. But what does that have to do with Lucasfilm?
The rights to Jurassic Park.
They have the rights to Jurassic. I just asked you that. You said they didn't have it.
You asked me if they have the rights to Turok.
This is splitting hairs. Obviously, there was a miscommunication. So, Lucasfilm Games has the rights to Jurassic Park? I didn't know they did.
I'm pretty sure Jurassic Park is Lucasfilm.
That's interesting. That would be cool. That'd be really cool.
Now I have to Google it. I have to Google it here on the.
I felt like I was strong about that, and I don't know anymore.
I mean, it's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that's not Lucas, though. I mean, Steven Spielberg did a lot of movies.
Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. I could be thinking of something.
Steven Spielberg and George Lucas worked on the Indiana Jones movies, 100%. I'm not arguing that.
That's probably where I'm getting.
But other than that, Steven Spielberg just kind of does his own thing. I don't think Jurassic Park had anything to do with George Lucas, is what I'm saying.
No, yeah, it's Amblin. Yeah, that's probably where I got it from.
It's okay. As I said previously, this is not a good show. I do not recommend it.
Now that I've boldly stated something that I was very confident in speaking on and is very wrong, which I did yesterday, by the way. Side little story here. It was the day before, actually. Wife and I were talking about getting pizza, and we had said she wanted stuffed crust, and I was like, okay, well, I like Domino's, and she's like, well, I can't get stuffed crust there. What are you talking about? And I swore in my fat kid heart that they had stuffed crust. Maybe and I was like, I'm in Giant Eagle, and I'm furiously Googling. It's like, I know they have stuffed crust pizza. Stuffed crust pizzas everywhere.
Nope.
And no.
They do not
I
have
did
stuffed
not
crust.
know that the Pizza Hut has a monopoly on stuffed crust.
Basically.
So that is just me, another story of me spouting off on some stuff that I think I know what I'm talking about.
It's all right, buddy. It's all right. That's what being human is just talking about stuff we don't know what we're talking about. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything on this subject. You want to move to the less fun one?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right. So that brings us to talking point number 2. And Neil, I just can't seem to get away from them. I can't seem to escape this. But CDPR. I mean, should I even list all the crap that's going on right now? I should just say they're douchebags.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna let you take the lead because I would much rather respond than lead on this one.
I mean, I have a lot of this written down because there's just been so much that's happened. So a bunch of information's come out on top of the entire nightmare shitstorm that's been going on. So apparently the game itself did not truly begin development until 2016. So the game was announced in, what was it, 12, 13, something along those lines.
Yeah.
They had zero outside of pre-production done.
I want to just jump on that and add, you remember that very first teaser we got for it? Not the one that announced it, but that one that we were like, oh, that's still being made. That started the hype train in the first place. That was in 2016, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So they had that trailer before they even started the fucking game. You may continue.
Yeah. They also were building the game engine as they were making the game. So normally you make an engine.
Yeah.
And then you plug stuff into it. They were building the engine for the game to then, this sounds like a cool thing that we can do. Let's try to do this. And then they have to go back into the engine and change things to make it work. And then from there, like, oh, we want to do this in the future. So then they build the engine so that things can happen that they're talking about, but then a lot of features got cut too. So there was a lot of development time wasted there. And honestly, most of the team had even said, when they said that the game was going to release in 2020, majority of the developers actually went to the board and said, this game is not going to be ready. There is no way this game is going to be ready. They said that the game would not be ready until 2022.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are still, it would have been 2 years since it was officially done in any like normal sense.
Right.
Nearly the entire 2018 E3 demo that was shown was
bullshit.
It was its own. So
I was hoping you were going to get into the Twitter thing.
It was a visual representation of what could be in the game. The demo was a complete separate thing that was built on the side. Right. So normally what they'll do with a demo is they'll do a demo build, but the demo build, it essentially just takes a piece of the actual code and just rounds off the edges so it, works functionally within that. This is an entirely separate thing that was built out. And it was not a measure of the final game at all.
Right.
It was also originally supposed to be a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted it to be a third-person shooter anyways, but they just kind of changed course in the middle of all of this.
And why? You're the only games you've done is third-person. Why?
From one news source that I had read, and when I get into stuff like this, I try to keep track of my news sources, and I unfortunately missed on this one. But one source that I had read was the change was made because third person, you would have to deal with collision detection and everything a lot more. So it was more so a time-saving measure than a design choice.
And that right there speaks to the lying, because what did they say about third person versus first person when they were asked? They said, we wanted you to be immersed.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You wanted to cut down on collision stuff. I'm just so sick of these companies lying to us for no reason. No one would have been upset if you had just said, hey, it's easier to make a game in first person.
And now, this launch is so bad, and the company is already forecasted to be in such a terrible position that it's actually there's firms out there, financial firms, that are suggesting that CD Projekt Red is a prime candidate for acquisition for a larger platform or developer. Man. So basically,
that kind of bothers me that I didn't add that to my prediction. I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't even think about that. I don't know who would want to buy him though.
I mean, to get their hands on the IP in the hands of like a powerhouse company, and I just want to say too, like, anecdotally, I'm still playing the game, but I'm actually almost at the end. I hit the point of no return, and fortunately, the game like gives you a very clear heads up, say, hey, if you progress with this, you're going into the end game and everything. And I'm at about 52 hours, I believe, right now. Yeah, I mean, it's the most I've put into any game in a very long time. But I've noticed as I'm getting further in the game, maybe I'm just more aware of them. There are so many, there's more bugs, there's more glitches. I've had 2 separate quests lock up on me to where I can't progress through them because it doesn't recognize that I did things. Right. I opened a door at one point and it threw me up against a wall and killed me. And for anyone who knows, I'm not a fairly low level. My character is level 29.
That's a badass door.
Yeah, I have like 550 something health, and I got killed by a door.
It's a level 50 door.
Yeah,
it's a magically imbued level 50 door.
There was one point I was walking down like an incline, and it just didn't like the rate that I was going down the incline.
Right.
It like caught randomly and rocketed me off into the wall, and then I just died. My character, I was just walking and something exploded in the ground in front of me, like not in combat, anything like that. The bugs and everything are getting worse, and it's just getting to the point now where like I still like the game, I still enjoy the game, but it's like, do I just finish it to say that I'm done?
Right.
Or
do I... Well, if you're that close, I feel like if you've come that far...
Well, I'm debating whether or not to finish it just so that way it's like I rolled credits, I don't have to keep playing this. Right. To like, well, do I want to like, round out some of these side quests? But there's some of them, I'll be honest, I have no desire to play through. But it's just like all of these things combined. CDPR put out an official video like, oh, we're so sorry. Here's our commitment to quality. Here's what happened. Their timeline that they have, they're going to push out 2 huge updates. One that's supposed to be coming in the next few days, if it hasn't dropped today already. And then another one next month. The next gen upgrades are not until fall of this year, and they have the balls to start talking about DLC and there's stuff going on about the multiplayer right now. Like,
that's not happening.
No, I don't.
I'm still saying that's not happening.
I hope it happens. I at least want the next gen upgrade.
Okay,
if I can even get that, but like I've been talking a lot.
I really want to get in on this, but I want to make sure that you've gotten all your stuff on.
I got the majority of it out.
Okay. First of all, Adam Badowski needs to shut his fucking mouth. Shut your fucking mouth and fix the game. Stop going on Twitter. Stop having fights with people. And what bothers me is this dude, every one of his apologies, every one of his, real sorry about this messages always have this air of, well, I'm sorry, but, it was your fault. We did the best we could and we just had to release it. And they all come with this, well, like, even though I'm sorry, other people are wrong for pulling the game and other people are wrong because of bashing the game. And like, dude, you need to shut the fuck up. You lied to us. You made a shitty game. You dropped it on us after just years of bullshit hype. And now you're taking your licks. So what you need to do is what Sean Murray did. Like, look, I'm not saying a game should release buggy. Never have, never will. However, when No Man's Sky came out and it got shit on, Sean Murray didn't argue with anybody. He shut his mouth. He went into his little computer lab with his team, and they worked on making it better. Until it was better, he didn't say anything again. You remember that? He just went quiet. The whole internet was like, why isn't he talking? You want to know why he's not talking? Because he's trying to make it fucking work. Stop. Every time you get on the internet with this obviously produced video of yourself trying to apologize to us, I'm just thinking, how much money and time and effort did you spend on this fucking video when you could be fixing your game and trying to make your company honest again? And the way that they have approached the response to this is awful and terrible. They have lied nonstop about nearly every stage of this, and it is beyond frustrating to me. And I could not believe that dude had the audacity when when the news reporter for it wasn't Kotaku, it was Games Radar, I think, was the one that he had a fight with on Twitter.
I missed this.
I wish I had written down the actual lines about it, because this dude, because actually I thought this was one of the things that the reason you had wanted to make this a talking point, so I didn't write it down because you're usually so good at that. That's my bad. But basically there is I think his name is Paul Shriver or Paul Schiff or so. He's a well-known reporter for one of the internet places. It's either Games Radar or Kotaku or something. He released this story about interviews with 20 developers and why this didn't work and all the backstory on it. Adam Badowski went after him. Huge response to him about how his game, he had not to say audacity for a fucking fourth time, but he had the audacity to actually quote the review scores of the game pre its release on PC only.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? Shut up, put your social media down, because you deserve to be bashed. You deserve to be attacked. Put it down and try and fix it. And I also want to point out the part of this that was going to be my odds and ends that I'm skipping is the CPA, which is, I believe they're from Poland, right? I can't remember the actual place they're from all of a sudden.
CD Projekt Red, yeah, Poland.
Right? Poland has a consumer protection agency, which just watches companies for lying and fraud and stuff. They are now officially investigating CDPR based on this. Based on the fraud claims, based on all of this, they're investigating Poland's business cops are investigating them now. Stop going on Twitter and giving people ammunition. Just shut up and fix your game, you know?
Yeah. It's what gets me is I forget where it was that I saw it, is the team over at CD Projekt Red wanted to make a Rockstar game with a quarter of the staff.
Right.
And I don't know, it's just speaks to how ambitious they were, and there's nothing wrong with being ambitious, but knowing or not knowing, but there's so many warning signs. There's people telling you, hey, there's problems here, but you've already set down a path that you just feel like you have to finish the way that you started it. And that's just not
right. Why do we ever have a release date if this game wasn't supposed to be done until 2022? If this was in a state where anybody in that building thought it wasn't going to be done until 2022, why is Keanu Reeves telling us it's coming out in April 1st? You know, my problem here isn't even necessarily they had ambition and failed. Because if they had an ambition and failed, I could kind of honestly, you know what? Let's take a step back. I think, let's compare them directly to No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, they are the poster children for ambition and failing, okay?
Yeah.
Aside from bringing the game back, which they did, and they did a good job of it, the release of No Man's Sky was a train wreck. And that was very clearly, they had huge ambition, they were shooting for the moon, and they fell short, right? Mm-hmm. That's what that was. But you look at that, they released all the reviews to the right places. There was no lies about anything. I mean, there was some mistruths in the beginning, but the hype train was kind of not something that they perpetually. They didn't do episodes about all the crazy stuff that's going to be in the game and then it not be in the game. You know, the hype train was there because he did hype it, but they were shooting for it and they missed. CD Projekt Red has actively lied to us for 5 fucking years. It wasn't we're trying to do this and we missed. It was we're trying to do this. it was, we're going to do this. You know what I mean? Like, and they,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the fact that they willingly knew that the game was broken and released it anyway, the people on No Man's Sky, the game isn't broken. It just fell short of what it was supposed to be, you know?
Right.
Like,
it's also...
Whereas
go
with
ahead.
this was actively broken and they released it. Not only did they release it, but they hid the broken shit from people. So for me, it's not even like they shot for the moon and they missed. It was like they knew it wasn't a good game and they fucking lied to us to try and get our money because they knew they couldn't get it back. Like, I feel like there was something kind of insidious about this. Not even talking about the developers. Like, the higher ups had the chance to say, we need to delay this. They had the chance to say, this isn't going to be what you think it is. They had the chance to release the review copies in the right order to the right places. They chose willingly not to do that. Whereas at least, you know, going back to the comparison with No Man's Sky, everybody knew that game was going to be a 7 or below because they had the reviews everywhere, you know?
It's also worth noting, too, that there was also a report floating around about this, that there were a lot of legitimate concerns, as we've all seen at this point, about the previous generation versions of the games running on that previous generation hardware. And those concerns were raised to upper management, saying, like, this is nowhere near the bar of what we wanted to show, what we want it to be, and, like, we need to delay or consider canceling these versions of the game.
Right.
And they outright said, no, it looks fine. It's totally fine.
What are they going to do? Because at the time, they had been only developing for that. There shouldn't have even been a next-gen version at that point. Like, they had been developing only for the current generation. I mean, not the current generation, but you know what I mean. The generation right before this. Like, it... Oh, man. And that's something that pisses me off, too, because even in the video, he's like, the reason we did bad was we had to make the game for so many different things. That's not an excuse.
You didn't. That's the thing. It's
right.
Like, no, you didn't.
You had to make it for that generation. That's it. Nobody was expecting you to release the next gen at the time. Or, if you wanted to go next gen and not the old one, cancel the old one. But you did not have to make it this way, and that is not the reason this game is bad, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there. I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. I mean, like I said, like, I still enjoyed the game for what it is, but you can see that potential.
Yeah.
There have been still to this day, lockups, and the game still crashes on me. And now it does a fun new thing where it crashes and sometimes hangs at 50%, sending the error report.
Yay.
So,
that's
like,
fun.
it goes that far into
like, it's
it.
like, there's too many of these already.
Right. Like, and it's just like, I can see what they wanted to do. I can still enjoy the game as it is, but not everyone is as forgiving as I am with bugs and glitches and stuff like that.
And I don't necessarily think they should be. If you give me a plate with a cheeseburger on it and the patty is made out of shit, like, I can see you were trying to make me a cheeseburger. I'm not going to eat the shit though. So, like, I should definitely be upset with you that you made my patty out of shit, you know? Like, it's tough. It's tough. I think everybody out there has a right to be mad at them, and they, especially with all the heat they're taking, they need to really just silence, button up, and try to fix it. And you're not going to fix it by, like, going to the angry internet and being like, we're sorry, but this is the reason it was bad. That's not going to make it better. That's just going to make people madder. It's just going to make people more mad.
And remember, too, they still plan on fighting litigation.
Yes, which is...
There's still going to be a fight against litigation.
There's no way. I cannot see a judge in the world that does not see fraud in what they did leading up to their release. I can't foresee that. But look, I hate to do this. Do you got anything more to say about it? But we should really jump into odds and ends.
Yeah, no, I think that'll be about it for the next month or two before we have another dump of information.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm sure we're going to talk about this again. Like, I'm sure we're going to talk about this again. It's going to be ongoing. Much like the epic Google thing, it's just going to keep coming back up.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to Odds and Ends. This is a segment where we like to cover smaller stories that might not necessarily deserve a talking point, but that we want to mention to you and tell you guys about. So I have 3. Neil, you have 3 or 2?
I have 2 and a rant.
Do you want to do the rant first or last? How do you want to do your rant, buddy?
You know what? I'll just do the rant at the end. Just 'cause it's
at the end?
dumb.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do the rant at the end. It's just dumb.
All right, well, then I guess I'll start. My first one, a real short one, and it is hilariously funny. I want everybody out there to go on to Google. You can pause this. I give you free will to pause this. Go on to Google, go on to Bing, wherever you search, and type in Canadian Tux controller Xbox.
I've
It is
seen
the
this.
coolest freaking thing I've ever seen. There is I think it's the Canadian Xbox store. It's like official. Have made a controller that it's made out of denim. Like it's the front and like the faceplate is denim, and it's called the Canadian Tux controller. It is awesome and hilarious, and I want one. Like. So bad.
It's great, but the only thing is, like, that's gonna get gross really fast. really fast. And
That's
you can't
true.
just drop your controller
That's
in the
true.
washing machine.
That is true. I cannot argue with that. All right. So why don't you hit us with one of yours, man?
All right. Well, Sony released a trailer for 2021 games for at CES this year. And it's a lot of stuff that we knew about, we know is coming, and a lot of it has been, touted as coming this year. They released the trailer, and shortly thereafter went back through and scrubbed and altered dates of releases for that trailer.
Oh, that's
So, duh. Like,
why even give the dates in the first place, guys? Like,
yeah,
Jesus.
like we're getting to the point now where they're trying to unannounce games, or like they're so worried about, like, you can give a release window and your release window is delayed too. Like, I don't get it.
It's so comical to me at this point. Like, I feel like I've stopped considering. Like, I used to get so excited for game announcements. And now I've stopped considering games or games until I see gameplay trailers. Like
Yeah.
Period. Because it's so much garbage. It's literally like, it's like if the Horrible Arena was us actually pitching you guys a game we're gonna make.
real announcements.
Right. And then we said you can also pre-order it and gave you pre-order packages. Like
You know what you need to do? You need to do before each of our pitches, you need to go in and just clip in the world premiere announcement. That's every single time we pitch is world premiere. And it's just like this developer, and you do the stuff with the thing.
Okay, so my next one, I'm just gonna piggyback off that and go into another delay on a game that I think I'm more excited about than you are, but Riders Republic, the open world extreme sports game coming from Ubisoft, has been delayed. It was originally supposed to come out sometime between February. It didn't have a date. It was a release window thing, but they have pushed it back without actually giving a release window. So last time they did this, just want to point this out, they did it with Watch Dogs Legion. They said, it's coming out in February. No, it's coming out in March. And then they were like, it's not coming out. And then it came out in October. So my money is that this game comes out in October. Just saying.
Yeah, could very well be, honestly.
And again, we don't mind you guys taking time to make games. Just stop telling us they're ready before they're ready. Seriously.
Yeah, it's getting to the point to where, like, I can give one delay a pass.
Right.
But
like,
the second you start talking, we got to do it again, it's like, okay, so you don't have all your poop in a group.
Right. Like, why are you even telling? Like, just, we'll get excited about the trailer. Like, just show us the trailer and then be like, hey, it's coming soon. And we'll be like, yeah, cool. We'll wait for it. Like, why do they keep giving us these false windows and dates? Like, just shut up until it's done. Like, seriously. Your next one.
So, going back to CES, NVIDIA announced the 12 gigabyte RTX 3060 video card, not to be confused with the 3060 Ti. as their new entry-level video card. It's going to be $329. It's powerful enough to run, current gen games at 60 frames per second. However, it's also worth noting that all of the other 30 series GPUs, as well as the 6000 series Radeon cards, are going to be impossible to find until at least bare minimum April. So once these come out too, they're going to sell out, and they're going to probably get scalped for $700-800 a pop.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's just not a good time to buy graphics cards. It really isn't.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. even the cheap ones right now. I
honestly, I've been putting my computer together. I now just need cooling, video card, processor, and that's it. I'm finally done.
That's cool.
But again, the processor, they're hard to come across. I'm actually probably going to have to go with a different one than what I was intending originally. But the video cards, even, they're hard to find, and they're being scalped as well because nobody else, even previous generation ones, are going for
you
not
can't,
a ridiculous amount, but
mine and I think Philbilly's are kind of middle of the road graphics cards, and you can't even find ours right now. It's not even the cheap ones can be found.
It's beyond me as to I understand, CES is where you announce this sort of stuff.
Right.
But it is beyond me as to why they would announce yet another video card along with their mobile video cards too. If we all know that they're not going to be, nobody's going to be able to get them. Why don't you just focus on getting your stock right and then go ahead and by the way, we have this coming out too.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. So my last one, Mass Effect Legendary Edition, or whatever it's going to be called. This is the collection of the 3 Mass Effects. There was a leak recently that seems to be corroborated. So it is, I would say 90% certain that Mass Effect is coming out in March, the new collection. Yes. Not going to lie, that kind of worries me because that makes me feel like they couldn't have possibly done the changes that I would like to see in that game to those 3 games. That makes me feel like they just jammed the original 3 games together and made it shinier,
Yeah, but it's also worth noting too, this game has been rumored for 1 or 2 years at this point.
True.
So
that's true.
They very well could have done a lot because unless they're physically remaking the games, all it is just porting, and then you make the changes from the ports.
But that's the thing. I didn't want a remake, but I wanted some normalization of the systems.
Yeah, and at that point, then that would take a bit. That would be inching towards remake territory. But I think I don't know. If it's straight up and down, just 3 ports, all the DLCs that come with it, I will gladly buy it. But I think a lot of people would enjoy it even more if the first game was remade and the other 2 were ports or something.
Well, or at least even from 2 to 3, I didn't like the change. Just normalize them all for me.
Yeah.
But I think, personally, I have played... I own all 3 of those games. They're all backwards compatible on Xbox. I have played through them 3 times. I don't see a need to go through it again if it's the same 3 games again with shinier graphics. So I would actually have to say I'm probably going to skip it if it's just ports. If it's just ports that are prettier, I'm probably going to walk away from it. I'm probably going to just skip it. Because it's not going to do anything for I've played through it 3 times. I've seen everything I need to see from that game. So, I don't know. I think if it's just ports, I might actually skip this one.
I've only done a full playthrough of the series once and actually have been kind of fiending to get back into it, but have been purposely not, just so because I know this game is coming. Right. So it appeals more to me. Plus, if it does come with all the DLC, I only got I got the DLC for the first game. I only got because I accidentally loaded my save into my friend's Xbox that had the DLC. So I had to go buy the DLC. But outside of that, I didn't really get to do any of the DLC for the other 2 games.
Well, that's true.
So if
I
it
have
comes,
not
if
done
it
the
comes with it,
DLCs. I will agree with that. I did the Mass Effect 2 DLCs, but that was it. Still, yeah, I don't know. I want to see what they do with this one.
Yeah.
But your rant, sir, I think that brings us to your rant.
So Zach, are you a fan of Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, to some
Yeah?
extent.
To some extent.
Yeah.
Do you like it when Nicolas Cage does things that he's got no business doing?
I feel like I'm falling into a trap here, but yes, I do.
Do you like ripoffs?
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's a horror movie, so I will not see it. I do not watch horror movies. I do not like horror movies.
I fully intend on I fully intend on and plan on watching this just because of the stupid faces that he makes in the trailer.
The trailer makes it look amazing. Just like Nicolas Cage being silent the entire time is like, oh, this is like that almost is enough to get me involved. Like
so. We know we know a while ago, back in 2016, I think it was, that they were in the process of making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. In fact, they were doing real animatronic builds using Henson's Creature Shop.
Right.
So instant hype because like I'm kind of a sucker for Henson stuff.
Yeah. Same here.
But that we've heard nothing at all for a while. And then we get this Willy's Wonderland, a very clear and blatant ripoff of Five Nights at Freddy's. But what I find very interesting about this is first, Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage in Nicolas Cage, because
but without being able to talk.
But not being able to talk, just making faces.
Yeah.
And it is a ripoff of a movie that we know is coming, but isn't going to be out by the time this comes out.
I kind of feel like that movie was silently canned and somebody bought all the animatronics because that's what this looks like to me.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if that's the case, cool. I don't think like, I feel like that would have been something that would have come out. I would
just
hope.
For anybody out there who doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about, look up Willy's Wonderland, Nicolas Cage. That's right. That's the name, right? Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah, it's Willy's Wonderland.
Look up Willy's Wonderland, Nicolas Cage. There's a trailer for it, and just watch that. You'll understand what we're talking about immediately.
The movie comes out streaming in February. I don't understand why this movie is going to be a thing. In case anybody doesn't know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's, it's the animatronics trying to kill the guy in the pizza shop. The plot of this movie from the trailer is a guy's car breaks down on the side of the road and some random pizza shop owner just happens upon Nicolas Cage all downtrodden in his very nice car, said, if you work for me one night cleaning up my pizza shop, I will pay for the repairs of your vehicle. Not a cheap repair on this vehicle. I don't know what kind of scam this guy's running, but there's like kidnapped missing people and animatronics are out for blood. But for some reason,
the town's trying to feed him to the haunted
pizza shop.
Pizza
It's
shop.
like it follows bits and pieces of the whole Five Nights at Freddy's lore.
And he just starts murdering them.
It is going to be so dumb.
Oh,
it is going to be so stupid, and I'm going to watch every single second.
I do love that Nicolas Cage has just like owned that like shitty actor persona. Like he's like, I'm just going to do crazy shit then. People seem to like that.
Right. Like, I don't know if it like, is Nicolas Cage okay? Like,
I think he's better than he's ever been.
Does somebody need to check on him? Is he just like not getting regular work? Is he like secretly like blacklisted in Hollywood and he can only get this weird stuff? I know he had debt problems a while back.
Yeah, he's getting tons of work. Did you see the Netflix show that he's in?
Oh, the history of swear words.
Yeah, we watched all of them.
I have not seen it yet. I want to.
It's a lot of Nicolas Cage finding reasons to say the worst words he can think of.
And thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Cage Cast.
Cage Cast. Oh my God, I want to make that podcast now.
The Cage Cast.
All right, you ready for Horrible Arena, champ?
Yes.
All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show, the moment you've all been waiting for, the main event. That's right, the Horrible Arena. What is the Horrible Arena if you've never watched or listened? Well, first of all, please watch or listen. Good or bad, we are entertaining. Sometimes.
Good.
The Horrible Arena is, in fact, the two co-hosts of this show will pitch you guys a game. We will pitch based on pre-existing criteria that is either picked by a guest if we have one, or we take turns. Last week it was my turn, and I picked Tactical War Game. So, that being said, the Quantum Coin has been tossed. Neil will get to pitch his first, and then you guys will get to listen. We will pitch you the developer, the title of the game, and the elevator pitch, and then you will get to take to all the places and tell us which one you would spend your hard-earned money on. And that will inform us on which one wins. So, with that being said, the coin, as I said, had already been tossed. Neil, take us away.
All right, so my game is going to be Stratego, but not in a traditional board game sense. It is going to be made by Activision Blizzard because they're about the only ones who really cover this sort of thing. So Stratego, if you are aware, is a board game. It basically functions as War, like the card game, except you control pieces. You can't see what pieces are being moved from your opponent, but you can see each other, and you basically try to capture with higher numbers. You would get your standard set and of characters and then just play based off of that. They would all be ranked in power from 1 up through 13, but there would also be special ones, like there would be a spy that has special capture requirements, or there would be bombs. And there's one special piece that is the flag. The flag is what you need to capture to win, but you don't know which piece is the flag. So you move along throughout the course of the board, going through your opponent's forces to be able to find that flag. Now, in a traditional war game, the highest number wins and takes the characters out. But as I said before, there are some that are special. So spies can only be taken out by, I can't remember what, I think it was the power 4. There are bombs that can only be disarmed by power 2 characters, something along those lines. So there's that basic strategy. You take turns going back and forth. But where it really opens up is your own personal army. You would build out an army that is a fraction of what the standard set is. You get a certain power number allocation. So let's say 10. And you can build forces up in that small little force to total 10. But as you play with that same army, over time, they gain experience, level up. And at that point, then you can rank them up to higher power, and that doesn't count against your grand total of power level. From there, you can take your army online and go against other people, and you can matchmake based off of, if you want to go against somebody that's a higher level and you can outmaneuver them, or if you want to go against somebody who's evenly matched. There would also be different variations on that game, like ones that would leave you with a certain purchasing pool. So before the game even starts, you have a certain allocation of points that you can build out, and capturing characters from the other side would grant you more points to recruit more forces and expand out. And all that stuff. So yeah, this pitch has been all over the place because I have 0 written down for it. And yeah, that's Stratego.
Well, that sounds really interesting, even though it kind of fell apart at the end there, man.
Oh yeah, it totally fell apart.
You were doing good. I was okay with it, and then at the end, you're like,
okay.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Have you ever played Stratego?
I love Stratego.
I know.
It's a cool game.
It's
a really cool game.
I know there's people out there who have played it, but there's been a lot of people I've said, it's like, oh, have you ever played Stratego? And they think it's Risk. So
Yeah, I've had that too. A lot of people think it's Risk. It's not. It's not at all. It's like weird hidden chess.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you are done. It's my turn then?
Yeah, I did. Believe me, I finished myself off there.
All right. So my game, my turn. My developer is going to be in Exile, and it is going to be called Raiders of the Gaslands. Now, mine is actually based off a game as well, not Stratego. There is a game, little known, called Gaslands out there. And basically what this game is a miniature game set to use like Hot Wheels cars as your miniatures, and basically you build them out into Mad Max style death machines, and then you compete against other people. There's a point system where you buy your cars, drivers, and pilots in order to like build out your team. So like it's like a can system. You get 70 cans, and then your team has to equal 70 cans, and you get to allocate how many cars you have, what kind of cars they have, whether they're trucks or not, stuff like that. Why am I telling you all this? Well, that's what I want my game to be. I want it to be that, but in game form. Now, I want to add a couple of caveats. This game is awesome. I do play it regularly, but it's very slow moving in the actual present. And I like to take games, if I'm taking a game in real world and turning it into a digital, I like to use that digital aspect. So for the digital, this would be a really cool turn-based, as in everything's always moving. So like it would pause the play when it's your turn. You would get to select every action that your team is taking, and you would have a team of cars that you built out, just like I said, taking on another team of cars. And then you could select every action, how it drives and whatnot, and it would be based on, like, the difficulty of what it's doing would be based on how fast your car was going, how much you had sped it up before. What maneuver you could take would be also based on that. What's interesting is it goes around the table. Everybody gets to pick what their movements are, and then it just lets it go. So you get to see the carnage that just rains down, which is really interesting because some people could move out of gun range that you moved into gun range. Other people could move into where you're moving and you could crash into them. You'd have all sorts of weird chaos every turn, but what's cool is it would always feel like it's moving. You'd have kind of like a timer on each one of your turns to kind of pick your maneuver, what you're going to do in your car and your actions with each car. How the game would actually play out, you could get into private matches with your friends. You could also take it online and get into other people's grill, I guess, so to speak. You can go one-on-one with people. Also, we would have a mode called... well, I don't have a good name for the mode, but it would be kind of like a Mad Max style thing where there is one war rig style truck with a ton of supplies that your gang is trying to get, and then three other gangs from other players would populate into it, and this would be your like main competitive mode, kind of like fleet battles and squadrons. What would be interesting about this mode is not only you're trying to take on the other people, but you're trying to bring down the truck and claim it for yourself, which makes this kind of like focal kind of crazy point. There would also be boarding in this. You could actually get your people, if you got up near the truck, your people could jump onto the truck, so you could win by actually getting one of your people into the driver's side of the truck and taking it over. You could also win by like maybe harpoons are all your things, so you can pull the truck to a stop. All sorts of different ways to do this. But it's a different take on that, and it's a different take on the strategy where you're taking the turn-based, but you're still keeping it real fast, and it's got that fast carnage feel. So that's my game, Project Raiders of the Gaslands versus Project Stratego. What do you guys want to buy? That's the real question, and we're going to tell you all the places you can vote in just a second. And I almost forgot. Neil, what's our subject for next week?
You know what? I'm doing something different this time. Something really different.
Oh, no. I'm nervous.
So we always say, what do you guys want to buy? What do you want to buy? What do you want to buy? What would you spend your hard-earned money on?
Okay.
Next week, we are going to pitch a game that you would never in a million years spend your money on. We are going to next week pitch a game that is bad.
Okay.
The only requirement is that it is bad. And next week, people will be voting on which game is worse.
Okay. All right. I'll allow it. We can roll. We can do something a little bit different. So next week we'll pitch a bad game, and you guys get to vote on which one's worse. And I already know my pitch immediately.
I've already been rolling through, and I already know that this is going to turn out being as like we both have things that we hate in games, and that's just what it's going to be.
I'm not gonna lie. Part of me just wants to pitch that, like when it gets to my turn, just be like, Cyberpunk 2077, made by CDPR.
Hardy har.
I won't do that though. I won't do that.
I was about to say I did just get done saying that was the only rule was it was going to be a bad game, not a game that exists.
Okay. All right. No games that exist. Got it. All right. So with that being said, let's go on over to the plugs. What do you think?
Sure.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, we're just going to go into the plugs instead of doing the in-between because we know we're about to do that anyway. But this is the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that brings everybody. So, Neil, do you have anything you want to pitch?
No, sir. Aside from, you know what? Actually, yes. Okay. We are going to start working on Season 2 of Halo Infinite Road here in the next couple days.
Yeah, good stuff. We're going to take... This week's our off week, and then we're back next week for, posting.
And I didn't run this by you at all. Before. Yeah. So this is going to be a thing, and I forgot to mention it, but I think it's a good idea
on air.
So yeah. So we're going to do this here. So, as you guys know, Halo Infinite Road and Halo Infinite War, they're hand in hand.
Yeah.
Anybody who has watched Halo Infinite War knows that we have through some fun little interesting game types, and we get into some even weirder stuff later with the different modes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And if anybody has any fun, interesting ways to play certain game types, let us know on Discord, something along those lines. I have begun to kind of streamline the process. We did the first season of Halo Infinite War. We kind of on the fly tried to make game types
I didn't think that was
we
that bad.
thought about
them. You seemed so irritated with that. I didn't think that was that bad.
Yeah. It's just like kind of doing it on the fly. It's like, we have to find a way to make this work, and then we'd have to jump into a match. Oh, it didn't turn out right, play with more settings.
That last one.
Yeah. So, I actually have kind of already begun to throw a couple of them together. I've just been going into Halo 2 multiplayer and putting together a couple different types of game modes. So if anybody has any suggestions for those, let us know in Discord, comments on videos, anything like that.
All right. Yeah, please do. We would appreciate it. As far as me, I have a huge plug. A huge plug, ladies and gentlemen, and you're hearing it here first. I have a date for the premiere of Season 2 of OMGW. A date, Neil. A date, sir.
Yes.
And the reason I am saying it on this show is because it will come out before the next show. That's right. Next Monday. And I say date when I don't realize what next Monday's date is, which is hysterical right now, I realize. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, of course. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The 18th of January, we will come out. No, not the 18th.
Yeah, 18th of January. Yeah.
That's today.
That is technically today because it's 12:11 a.m.
Not coming out today. It's coming out the 25th. Sorry, guys. Looked at the calendar wrong.
Okay.
It is coming out the 25th. Our first episode will be the 25th. If all goes to plan, which I think it does. I have all the vocal parts that I needed. I have edited all but 3 episodes. Ziggy Vance and Blaze Phillips are going to come over for some commentary next Sunday. So should be all ready to go next Monday, and I am super excited. We did it in 2019. This was so much work to put this together, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And Neil, you're actually voicing one of the wrestlers again. Well, for the first time.
Well, yeah, and I destroyed my throat doing it.
You did a great job, man, and I appreciate it. I'm sorry I set his voice for that low. I was just doing so many voices last year. I had to differentiate it.
Yeah, well, now it can never change. So
it is forever that. All right, so yeah, that's my last big plug. Everything else you guys can see on the channel. We're doing a lot of stuff. Phil Billy's been streaming some Warzone. He got us a lot of views too. I stream every Wednesday during lunch hour, or from 11 till 12:30. So not lunch hour, but a little bit before. And then I also try and stream once in the rest of the week. And then you can check out all our Let's Plays here. And you can check out everything we have to offer. And you can reach us out on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link will be in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. And as usual, guys, you guys keep watching and listening. We'll keep making them. See you guys next week. All right. That was a good time. I think we're making a really good show today.
yeah, we are.
All right.
Just feel that good show jazz. But remember, every show is a good show.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
Every show is a good show.
Even the best show is a shit show. I don't know what you're talking about.
The shit show is the best show.